Hello and welcome to the Whoniverse, and to my second review in a new series of videos where I'm taking a look back at Doctor Who since 2005 and reviewing each episode. This time it literally is the end of the world. The episode begins with a quick montage of the events of episode 1, Rose, to remind the viewer what's happened so far, and this is very much a continuation of the story they watched this time last week. At the end of the montage we get a kind of slow motion shot of Rose running to the TARDIS, and then she's in the TARDIS, and the adventure begins. The Doctor and Rose have a brilliant conversation that in a way becomes a competition about how far into the future the Doctor can take her, immediately making the audience minds race as they hear of so many possible adventures and destinations seem almost limitless. We're then left to suspense as the Doctor says he knows exactly how far to take Rose, and he starts pressing buttons, pumping a bicycle pump, and then they land, and the sound of the engines stop. The Doctor hits a bell on the console, which I think is a brilliant touch. We are then greeted to a scene of Rose exiting the TARDIS into the unknown, cautiously stepping out of the box, while accompanied by Murray Gold's brilliant score, which solidifies the mood of uncertainty and potential adventure. The Doctor then opens the shutters on a massive glass window on what is revealed to be a viewing deck, and they witness the sun begin to expand. The Doctor then says one of the best pre-title lines of the series, "Welcome to the end of the world," and straight away Rose's reaction is just disbelief and horror. We then get the spectacular opening titles, which still has that logo problem that I mentioned in my Rose review, but it's still amazing. And then we're back into the story. The Doctor and Rose walk around a bit and encounter the steward, and we are treated to the first on-screen use of the psychic paper, which is a brilliant invention by the writer that just saves time in the long run, and allows us to dive straight into the story without too much explanation of what we already know. Then a great sequence happens when a large variety of aliens walk through the doors onto the main viewing deck, and there are so many, and they are simply brilliant. Many are of humanoid shape, but the prosthetics and makeup are great with so much creative design, and then we have the spectacular looking face of Bo and the mocks of Balhoon, which showcase the talent of Millennium effects. We also get a look at the mostly computer generated creature known as Cassandra, who states she is the last human. The fact that she is CGI makes it even more obvious that what she is unnatural, and also makes her stand out from the crowd. Rose's reaction to this is just brilliant, as she is quickly overwhelmed by the scale and amount of aliens in the room, much like the audience. Rose leaves the room, but not before a comedic exchange of gifts, including air from the Doctor's lungs, as well as everyone being given a small metallic ball by the adherents of the repeated meme. Jade of the Forest of Cheam scans the Doctor and adds to the mystery of the character, saying that it's not possible, intriguing the audience further into the mystery of the Doctor, and making the title of the show more meaningful, as the Doctor really is a mystery to everyone. Meanwhile, Rose is in the corridor, and gets frightened by the diegetic sound of the score. This is the music only the audience can hear, so why Rose quickly turns around in this scene is very strange. Rose has a conversation with a member of Platform 1 staff, and reveals that freedom of speech is still very much a problem, as well as only showing Rose's compassion and consideration for other people, even if they are aliens. Then Rose leaves the corridor and we are shown quite a few mysterious metallic spider droids that somehow drag this person into the air vents, while they are still moving and still resisting. Next, we see the steward in his office, placing down a metallic sphere that the adherents of the repeated meme delivered, and lo and behold, a silver spider droid pops out. Now the sphere is placed at the very front of the frame, to make the reveal as blatantly obvious as possible. Personally, I would have preferred it if the reveal was a bit later, or maybe in the background, with an empty ball casing in the back of shot. We then get a nice scene with Rose and the Doctor, beginning with Rose showing how unfamiliar all this is by attempting to talk to the twig. Then we get a blatantly obvious reveal of the spider droids, more on that in a minute. The Doctor enters the room and sits apart from Rose, showing the divide between the two characters. We get some explanation of how all the aliens are speaking English, and Rose shows her independence as she protests to the Doctor not consulting her regarding the TARDIS affecting her brain beforehand. Rose then asks the question on the audience's mind, about the Doctor's identity, and the Doctor instantly becomes defensive, and I must commend Eccleston's acting, the use of space, the silence, it's just brilliant. Rose then changes the subject, and we are given this brilliantly touching moment between Rose and the Doctor as they joke while trying to modify Rose's mobile phone. Yes, that is what they used to look like. The two almost make up any dispute that they have left, and then Rose gets to call her mum in a scene which could only be done in Doctor Who, and only with Murray Gold's spectacular soundtrack. Just wow. Moving away from a heartwarming moment to a scene where someone gets cooked alive as a spider droid enters the view of the steward and deactivates the sun filter, which prevents the sun from blaring in and turning you into roast dinner. However, to have a roast dinner, you must have some vegetables, including whoever designed the keyboard to have one button, which isn't even put under a password or a switch, that can cause death and destruction. This button is pressed by the spider droid and the sun filters lower. The idea of the spider droids, like all the aliens seen in this episode, are fantastic and have a brilliant design, but blimey do they make a noise. Banging and clanging their tiny feet, but still no one notices the droids until they are right in front of them. Either way, they look great and maybe could have been utilised in a more effective way. Moving on, we have some brilliant one-liners as the Doctor and Rose split up, with the Doctor teaming up with Jade and Rose going off with find Cassandra. The Doctor and Jade make their way through the compact corridors, and we are shown how excited the Doctor is by danger and adventure. And in a way, this may not just be fueled by his intrigue and personality, but by a survivor's guilt and the feeling he needs to do something right when things go wrong. It's his chance at redemption. Back to Rose, and we are greeted by a wonderful CGI shot of Platform 1, and then we join a conversation with Cassandra, which might be a reference to plastic surgery, what humanity means, or something deeper. But this small speech Rose makes about Cassandra not really being the last human and not moving forward with the rest of humanity obviously strikes a nerve. Rose then walks away in what looks like a repeated shot from earlier, as she is still holding the twig. Give the scene a rewatch and comment what you think below. Back to the action. The speech infuriates Cassandra, and by coincidence the adherents of the repeated meme are shown. We then go back to the Doctor again, in a powerful scene which barely uses words, as Jade admits to the Doctor she was surprised by his existence, and was very sorry at only being able to imagine what he has endured. This adds to the mystery of the Doctor, and really makes the audience think about what this character's backstory is, and asks us the question, do we really want to know the horror the Doctor endured? Once again, absolutely fantastic acting from Christopher Eccleston. Jade and the Doctor then enter the room containing massive cooling fans, and discover a spider droid, which scuttles through the scene flawlessly in terms of computer-generated imagery. It looks great. Meanwhile, the meme, or memes, attack Rose and she is knocked unconscious, which is illustrated in a way that is not too dark or too comedic. Then Cassandra plays Toxic on our quote-unquote iPod, which is actually a jukebox, which is just a brilliant writing and action. The song works well to provide a trance-like state as Rose awakens from her unwanted nap. The exterior of the space station is again presented wonderfully. The Doctor finds the sizzling steward and rushes to save Rose. As the Doctor dashes down the corridor and Rose realises her potential of perishing, the two characters talk through the door as the sense of danger is truly felt, the sun filter lowering, the music and the dialogue works really well, with comments like "stop mucking about" showing how Rose may still be unsure of the Doctor's true motives. I also think that when the suspense is lifted as the danger is averted, it's great to see the walls have the look of being scorched, which is something that could have easily been missed in an editing mistake or lack of continuity. The Doctor then rounds up the suspects in a thriller crime drama type fashion and puts the pieces together to reveal the true villain of the episode. At first, the spider droid wanders over to the repeated meme. Yes, that's really what they're called, and it's mentioned in the episode and in books. It really is just a weird name, especially now. However, the meme aren't to blame. Instead, Jimbo the spider droid wanders over to Cassandra after it's revealed the meme are just inventions. Cassandra reveals how she would happily murder all of the guests, all for money. This really highlights that in a time where the continents can be returned to their original positions centuries ago, and a star can be prevented from expanding for a good amount of time, there is still greed and corruption in the universe, and still the ridiculous desire for financial gain. Zoe Wanamaker, I think it's pronounced correctly, provides the brilliant voice of Cassandra, and it works just so well. It truly makes Cassandra a believable character. Cassandra and her moisturising goons then leave the party via the teleport, and panic ensues. All the different characters start flustering and fearing for their lives, but the Doctor is decisive and organised. He takes command of the situation and sets out to save the day. The Doctor and Jade run through the compact corridors back to the cooling fans, and we see the characters look across to what can only be described as a terrible design flaw with the space station as a whole. Why would the architects place the emergency cooling fan shut-off switch on the other side to the entrance? This poor design leads to Jade sacrificing herself. As the temperature rises, she is set alight due to being made of wood. The Doctor makes his way through 2 of the 3 layers of rotating cooling fans before Jade is burnt to death. We then get this great moment which shows the Doctor concentrating, eyes closed, thinking. We get shots of Rose, then back to the Doctor. He simply steps through the speeding cooling fan blades. The Doctor flicks the switch and the shields engage, just before the Earth is destroyed in some brilliantly made CGI shots. The glass then repairs and all is well. This scene is accompanied by a simply brilliant soundtrack. This part of the resolution works so well because it depends on sacrifice, and not the overuse of the Doctor's technology. Instead, this uses his personal abilities and desires to save those he cares about, and those who are innocent. Next, we see Rose enter the main observation deck and slowly make her way through the room as she looks upon the devastation that has been caused, as not everyone survived, something that also makes this story great, as there are consequences to every action. In contrast, when the Doctor comes back, he doesn't walk slowly and cautiously into the room. He walks in with purpose, fueled by an anger he is attempting to keep hidden. The Doctor makes his way over to the remaining ambassadors of the Forest of Cheam, and then quietly tells them of their relation's sacrifice. The Doctor then leaves them to grieve and moves on to his many ideas, all of which lead to Cassandra being returned to the platform, but this time, her moisturising mercenaries are nowhere to be seen. The Doctor then delivers a bone-chilling line: "Everything has its time, and everything dies." Soon after this phrase is spoken, Cassandra quite literally explodes due to the heat. The Doctor walks away and time passes, with another great shot of the station as it orbits the destroyed Earth with debris flowing through space. The Doctor and Rose regroup after the other guests have departed. We then get a great shot which wonderfully utilises the orange glow of the computer-generated background with the silhouettes of the Doctor and Rose. The two then link hands and the Doctor takes her back to the TARDIS. The TARDIS lands and the Doctor and Rose are back on Earth, in the 21st century. The Doctor explains how humans actually do survive beyond all of their concerns, and then the Doctor reveals details of his own past, mentioning the Time War, and the fact his entire world burned like the Earth, and is now gone. This shows the Doctor's intentions may have been indirectly to allow Rose to relate to him more, by showing her a representation of what he endured, but on a more appropriate scale. The scene is acted beautifully as Rose comforts the Doctor with the offer of a portion of chips, and with that in a heartwarming scene, the Doctor and Rose set out through the crowd. So, The End of the World, a brilliant story that perfectly introduces Rose and the audience to the scale of the universe in Doctor Who, with the episode featuring a great use of location, costumes and practical effects, with some solid acting from the vast majority of the cast. The story is let down slightly by the spider droids, which could have been a bit less obvious, and there are some strange decisions regarding the construction of Platform 1, with its odd placement of its cooling fans and switches, and a case of reusing footage in places, but overall it's still a worthy welcome to the wider universe of Doctor Who. The storyline is not too complex and is a great way to continue the welcome into Doctor Who for new viewers, and is a story that features some beautiful moments. Overall, I'd rate the story a 7 out of 10, for its use of inventive aliens, a storyline that has just the right amount of complexity for the beginning of a series and era of Doctor Who, and the use of subtle conversation over the use of explosive action sequences works really well throughout. A great episode. And that is it for my review of The End of the World. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing if you haven't done already. And feel free to comment below with your opinion of the episode, and I would love to know what's your favourite moment in the story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.